Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to, well, hopefully it's going to be a new series that I'd like to call, as you can see by the title, Singled Out. This is going to be a show about singling out a single car, like today's episode, the new model, 15 to current model, Mustang. Pretty cool car, and this is going to be typically pretty short. We're just going to talk a little bit about a single car as a little drive time kind of thing, driving through town, just a one-on-one kind of thing about my thoughts and stuff on single vehicles and the goods, bads, things like that. Cars I love, cars I pretty much fucking hate, that kind of stuff. So, today, Ford Mustang, right? Everything from the regular turbo 4-cylinder to the GT350R, that kind of stuff. Now then, the Ford Mustang is, from what I can tell as of right now, if I'm not mistaken, the longest running pony/muscle car, right? Started all the way back in the 60s and looked great then, had a really rough, hard time in the late 80s and 90s, all the way up to the 2000s. Not to say that they're bad cars. Obviously, some people like the old Fox bodies and stuff, and, you know, a Mustang is a Mustang, so if you still own one, it's still cool, you still own a Mustang. But those ones aren't my cup of tea. I used to be a die-hard Dodge Challenger fan. Even before the Hellcat and everything came out, that was my dream car. Loved the wide body of it. I used to work at a dealership, and they had a SRT Challenger Hemi that was orange, had a Hurst slap shifter. Thing was amazing. Loved that car. And that's how I started to fall in love with them. And I know that compared to some of its competitors, it's a little underpowered, but the other day I was able to hop into a 2015 Mustang GT with a Roush exhaust system, and that was all that was done modifying. That's all that was done to it. No, not even a cold air intake or anything. But I still got on that thing, turned it on, had the 6-speed manual, if I'm not mistaken, and it sounded phenomenal. I work as a detailer at a dealership currently, and I drive a lot of different manuals of vehicles. Anything from Hondas, Chevrolets, Mustangs, or Fords, Dodges, anything that has manual. From most car makers, I've probably driven a variant. Clutches on new cars are getting better and better, but the clutch on that Mustang GT was so smooth that if someone was learning how to drive a manual, I would 100% recommend they drive a newer vehicle. Obviously, they're better, but that Mustang was so easy to get in and out of. Obviously, older trucks and stuff, like old Chevrolet trucks and things, they had hard manuals. Their clutches were tough, but not this one. This one shifted in gear so smooth. I mean, you had to try and kill it if you wanted to stall it. But I loved it. I got in it, first one I'd ever been in, and I was grinning ear to ear just sitting in it, and especially with that Roush exhaust, it was phenomenal. Now, the current gen Mustang, which finally, because of, as I said, a few years, they had a rough time. They didn't have a 5.0. They had a 4.8 or something like that, and they didn't make a lot of power. But nowadays, all the big threes, Mustang, Camaro, and Challenger, everyone's making around 400. Now, the Challenger is lacking behind. If I'm not mistaken, it's 398 current crank horsepower. Camaro and Mustang have both hit over the 400 mark, so that's really good. I mean, if you want a cool $30,000, all the way, of course, up to $50,000, depending on spec, 400 horsepower car, you have options. This is a great time to be a car person. Tons of options. And that Mustang was phenomenal. So, me and my friend over on a Sunday, I live in pretty heavily religious town, so everything's closed on Sunday. We actually decided to go down to the Ford dealership, and because we didn't want to be bothered or really bother anyone, obviously we weren't looking to buy it, but I decided to go look at a 2019 Performance Package Coupe, what the hell, Mustang GT, and that thing looked amazing. It had a deep wine cherry red color on it, looked great. It had the quad dual black tip exhaust, looked amazing, very aggressive. And I started to get to a point where I almost kind of liked the Mustang over the Challenger. I was actually thinking about, what if I get this instead? As a car that if a few years from now, that I want, if I want to get a performance-based two-door muscle car, that as of right now, the Mustang's a good runner-up. Now, of course, there are always going to be people like, oh, Mustangs are crowd killers, stuff like that. It's not the car's fault, it's the driver's fault. A base model Mustang, right now, your turbo 4-cylinders, because they no longer have the 6 cylinders. Only Challengers and Camaros still have a 6-cylinder option available. The current turbo 4 still pumps out 300 horsepower, 2-liter turbo. And a lot of people, after driving probably their first cars and stuff like that, probably something more in the 180 to 200 range, probably actually haven't driven something with 300 horsepower. Now, you'll see all these YouTubers talk about how they drive their supercars and they get into something with 400 horsepower and they go pretty much that this is slow for them. And that's true, it would be slow for them having such, again, for them, little horsepower. But your average day person that drives a Honda Civic, or even my car, a Scion TC 2015, only has 180 horsepower. The car doesn't feel slow to me. It doesn't feel like it's dragging to get anywhere. But that's just because that's the vehicles I've driven. Now, when you take someone who drives a Honda Civic, a Hyundai Accent or Sonata or Chevy Cruze, and you put them in a car that's rear-wheel drive with 300 horsepower, they might literally not know how to handle that much power. That is actually quite a bit. So, that's how you start to get people that are crowd crashers. And especially if you get up to the GTs and things like that, where you get the 5.0, that is a lot of power. That's a good amount for anywhere from 30 on a performance range car. And I say 30 because technically if you get a bottom spec Mustang GT, I believe you can get around to like 33 grand-ish, if I'm not mistaken. And of course now they have all their performance packages, their performance 1 and 2, that get them all the way up to 50 grand. Or if you're like a dealer out in the Midwest somewhere, you're making $40,000 Mustangs they're partnered with a speed shop, cranking out now 800 horsepower, and that comes with warranty, and those are ridiculous. But that's a very, very specific case. You aren't going to see those all over the place, obviously. But the Mustang is in a pretty cool spot. As detailing goes, to be honest, not my favorite kind of car to detail. A lot of times they have a slightly raised wing in the back. It's nothing big, but they have a gap about that big in them. And that is horrible for me because I can't really polish in between there. I can't do the stuff I really want to. Sure, you can wash in between there. You can put wax in between there, that kind of stuff. But if I was someone that wanted every single inch of my car paint corrected perfectly, I'd have to attempt to try and take the wing off, and that'd just be a hassle, right? Don't want to do that. But if you are able to afford something in that, even for a base model, in that 25 plus range, I mean, you can get a used turbo 4-cylinder for like 20 grand. And not heavily used, lightly used. And 20 grand for something like that's ridiculous. That you can finance a car with that much power for so little. And it'd still be a solid car all the way around. You're not going to have, if you know what you're doing, you're not going to have a hard time controlling it, things like that. You're going to be pretty good. So, I think the current gen Mustang is in a very good spot. It's one of the best contenders for your money right now. If you get in it, the seats are going to be pretty comfortable, things like that. And you're going to be, of course, even without having a crazy car, you're going to be faster than most stuff on the road. You're not going to have to worry about, you're going to be faster than everyone else's, like Honda Civic Si or Miata, those kind of things. You'll be faster than them. And you'll sound good while doing it. And you'll look good while doing it. You can't deny that. Currently, when they first were released, they looked kind of like they were melting. But now that they've been out for a few years, people have kind of adjusted. They look good. There's definitely solid looking cars. I would recommend one. For your money versus Camaro and Challenger as your competitors, for direct American competitors, I don't think you can go wrong with any version of the Mustang. Now, if you do want more power, obviously you're going to want to go most likely Dodge, right? Hellcat 700 horsepower. Most likely there are going to be some demons going on sale, or not sale, but used ones going around, because people are going to realize that they're not going to like driving an 800 or possible 800 horsepower car every day. And they're going to start to go on the market. And eventually you could get one of those. Or, again, stick with the Hellcat. There's no shortage of power there. Currently, Mustang, as of today, doesn't have a direct competitor for that. The GT350R, great on track. Phenomenal, right? It's ZL1 1LE quality of track. But it's still not quite as quick. It doesn't have the horsepower. It's got the weight. The Mustang is lighter than either of its competitors, but it's still not where it should be with power for today's standards, which is ridiculous. That was the GT350R come with 500 plus, and that's still almost considered not good enough. Now, of course, there are rumors of the GT500, and not rumors, it's coming out. That's been confirmed by Ford, but as of right now, nothing yet. Probably nothing until 2020, if I'm not mistaken. Those were the current rumors. But, as I said before, Mustang, I give a solid, 7.5 out of 10. Mainly because, for its competitors, on the high end, it's not quite there yet. But on the low end, it's probably better than its competitors. It's nothing super special, but if you do get one, I'm pretty sure you'll be happy. I was happy driving the one I had, or got to drive. So, if anyone's ever thinking about maybe Mustang's their dream car, now, especially used one, how they're getting so low in price, I would say, if you can afford it, go for it. You won't be disappointed. Now, as always, at my destination, this is probably how we're going to end every episode. I encourage, obviously, like any other YouTuber, like, comment, subscribe. If you have any, and if you do have any comments, anything you'd like to change, anything I could do better, things like that, obviously, let me know. And also, if there's a car that you'd like discussed, comment it. Let me know, and I'll see if I can get around to it. So, like, comment, subscribe, and everyone have a good